Welcome to the System Simplified podcast, where we feature top leaders who share stories on how to successfully systemize a business. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hello, Adi Klevit here, the host of the System Simplified podcast, where I feature top founders, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders about systematizing a business. And today's episode is being brought to you by Business Success Consulting Group, where we create, document, optimize, and implement processes and procedures so businesses can grow and thrive. And today's guest is Nathan Baar. Hi, Nathan.
Sounds good. I'm doing great, Adi. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Well, I'm so excited about our conversation today because I always like to share new ideas with our listeners and things that they can actually benefit from. You know, we're all about systems and we like to introduce new systems. And that's what we're going to talk about, but in the healthcare arena, right? So you are the founder and CEO of HealthBar. So it's not a health food bar, it's something else.
Yes.
Tell us more about it and tell us about your journey and how you got to where you are. So go ahead and introduce your bio because you're probably the best to do that.
Appreciate the opportunity. So I am a registered nurse actually by original training. Graduated and started working in the emergency department. Saw or had the desire to advance my clinical career. So I got my master's in healthcare administration, climbed the corporate ladder, and found myself in a director role in a health system here in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and got to see the business side of healthcare, and kind of marrying that with the clinical side of healthcare that I experienced firsthand as a provider, and really opened my eyes up a lot to how our healthcare system in the U.S. works. You have one lens as a clinician, you have another lens as more of a hospital administrator. And there's just a lot of things that I saw issues with. And I've always been a big believer in you have to be the change you want to see. And so thought what better way than to affect that change by starting my own business. So definitely an exciting and difficult journey along that way. But yeah, I've enjoyed every step of it and have learned to grow a business and to keep it sustainable. You have to have some pretty incredible systems put into place to do that.
Absolutely. So tell us about your business.
So taking from my clinical past, as well as marrying that with my kind of business acumen in the healthcare space, I started a company called HealthBar. It does have kind of that more foodie sound to it. A lot of people think we're a food retailer or play in that space. Really, the idea was a play on, I think, the original concept of the business that I had, along with my last name of Nathan Baar. So I really want to make healthcare more transparent. And really more consumer friendly at the end of the day. And so thinking about that from a system standpoint, it's kind of anti what our current system is. Our current system has a lack of transparency. It's not consumer friendly. There's really a large degree of information asymmetry that occurs within our healthcare space. So you have a healthcare system with all the knowledge and you have a healthcare consumer with no knowledge, essentially. So what we did was we started HealthBar, and really what we're doing is working in the primary and preventative care space, but working in a way that adopts a true value-based care approach. We take this model, this system of healthcare, and we bring it to businesses and schools within our communities. So direct contracting with a business to provide their workforce with essentially free primary and preventative care, highly accessible, relationship-based, feels almost like a concierge level service, but taking away and breaking that payer-provider relationship where our providers and clinicians aren't incentivized to do more. They're incentivized to keep people healthy and out of the healthcare system. So truly aligned from an incentive standpoint, and recreating kind of how outpatient healthcare looks here in Michigan right now, but hopefully across the U.S. as we grow and scale.
Interesting. Okay. What were some of the obstacles on opening your own business? And, you know, it's not just a business, opening your own business, but it's a business with a different concept, right? I mean, you were basically trying to do, or you are trying to do something that is against the overall common consensus, right? So it was a disruption of sorts. So what were the biggest challenges?
Yeah, I brought my knowledge and expertise from the healthcare space, so really had a good foundation there. I think the bigger thing when doing anything new is getting people to understand what you're doing. And so when you're innovating in a space that has such an entrenched industry, people assume healthcare looks just like this. And it has to look like that because it's been that way for a very long period of time. And so people are creatures of habit, and they just expect if it's A, then it's B. If it's C, then it's D. And what we're trying to do is to break people's mindsets on how healthcare can be financed, as well as how healthcare can be accessed. And that is a big uphill battle. We use a farming analogy a lot when we're talking to people. We say, if you have to find, your plot of land, you're gonna farm. You have to till the soil. You got to plant the seeds. You got to nurture it. You grow those plants, and eventually you harvest, and harvesting is like a sale. We have to take the industry all the way from a piece of land to harvesting, whereas many industries already have that cultivated soil, and everybody's trying to grab the harvest because it's already there. And so those are usually well-developed industries where you have a lot of late entrants. Blessing and a curse in our situation where we have the ability to be a first mover and the opportunity to be a first mover, but the challenge of a first mover, which means you have to do everything to get a market up to speed.
That's right. That's right. So in terms of your vision for your business, so are you envisioning basically being a replacement to traditional healthcare?
If you look at healthcare as a system, and really this is kind of looking at how healthcare is financed, our insurance model that we have within healthcare, we're really not looking to be as much of a replacement for your traditional hospital systems. More so what we're looking to do is to say, can you draw a line between urgent care level of service and scope of practice and below, and then emergency services and above? And really say, as an industry, if you're looking at outpatient care, you're looking at non-complex care. And so can you make that care more like maybe, for instance, how you take care of your car, right? I get oil changes on my car. I go to the oil change center and I pay cash for that. I get a car wash. I can do all these different things and I pay cash for them more in a consumer fashion. I've said a lot, we should be thinking about our own bodies, kind of like we take care of our vehicles or other things. Is we perform maintenance on things, we should be maintaining our bodies and our health in a preventative and proactive way, and doing it as informed consumers. And so there should be healthcare access points that allow you to do that and take care of the minor injury, illness that occur from time to time. So we're taking that side of the industry and saying, can we make this a more transparent and proactive side of the industry and almost separate it off from traditional hospital systems, allow the hospital systems to do complex care, surgeries. I hope there are really good health systems around when I need that kind of stuff. So we're not trying to replace that at all. The idea is do what you're the best at. And hospitals and our healthcare system is really good at complex care. Unfortunately, the focus on that complex care has taken the focus away from primary and preventative care. And so health systems have used more of this outpatient primary care as almost like a funnel to get more volume into their system to perform more complex care when it's needed. And they're really not incentivized to keep people healthy because that reduces volumes for them at the end of the day. And so we're looking at that side of the industry and saying, can we prevent need? And I think right now, if everybody's looking at our healthcare system in the US, much of the conversation is that it's too costly, it's overburdened, there's not enough workforce. And so we think that our incentives for what we're doing align well with the future needs of the industry, though it does go anti-current business model of the healthcare industry. So somewhat replace, but more so prevent need for a lot of that stuff, and say the way we're going to compete in this market is really opening the front door of healthcare access beyond where it currently is. It's the primary care office right now, or maybe a virtual access point. What if I can bring that to somebody's home or their employer or their school they go to?
Absolutely. So what are you running into in terms of explaining a new concept? That's basically, it's marketing, right? I mean, it's packaging it, it's marketing it. I mean, it's also public relations that comes before that in terms of like getting the acceptance. So how do you do that?
time and effort and early adopters. You have that adoption curve that you look at traditionally, or a lot of people call it the hype cycle of something, where you look at AI right now, and that hype cycle is way, way high. The AI is going to be the future. Then you shift down into practical application, and then the industry drives back up into a sustainable adoption of that. I think we're still at the early phases of some of our industry. I would say there's not as much of a hype cycle, but we have more of that early adopter phase, where we have a cohort of businesses and clients that we've worked very hard to educate and help their programs succeed. As we succeed in those early clients, how do we encapsulate that success and then turn it into case studies and examples of why our business is valuable and why this is a sustainable business that can grow and scale? And so kind of taken that and grown and used real life scenarios. At the beginning of any business, you have to sell a vision. It's, hey, I have this dream and this will work. I know it will. And I'm going to put everything behind it that I can to make it work. But then you have to do it. And so we found those early adopters who believed in us, did everything we could to make their program successful, and then used those early wins to help us sell and gain more clients. And we're seeing some of that momentum build now. So it just takes time, because it's that entrepreneurial grind that you have to have, and you have to get out there and just believe in what you do. I think is really, people can tell when you're selling a product or a service, and either you believe it or you don't. And so I think at the end of the day, it's just really believing in what you're doing, and then walking the walk.
Absolutely. And having a strong purpose along that, right? It drives you, motivates you. How do you overcome times where, we all as entrepreneurs, as business owners, but also as humans, you have those times that we feel like, wow, can I really make it? Am I going to make it, right? I mean, is this worth really pursuing my purpose, or should I just go back to my 9-to-5 job or being a nurse or whatever it is? Like, what helps you overcome that?
Yeah. People see the shiny exterior and like, oh, you have a business and it's succeeding, and they think it's been rainbows and sunshine. When what people see on the outside is definitely not the entrepreneurial struggle that exists along the way. And there are 100% moments where you're like, this could be easier. I could just go get a paycheck from somewhere else, and I have to wear 50 hats and learn all the stuff that I don't know. But I think there's a level of what I keep coming back to during those moments, and they still happen despite success. You still hit struggles, and when you are responsible for paying somebody a paycheck, and their family depends on that, the amount of stress that goes behind other families depending on your business to succeed, it's tough to overcome for a lot of entrepreneurs. And but for me, it is very purpose driven. I think I'm a person of faith, and I say this is something I feel like I finally found what God has put me on this earth to do. And so knowing that it's not going to be easy, that I feel like this is my why in having that mission behind it. It helps that the work we're doing is helping people live healthier lifestyles and hopefully longer, healthier lives. And it's solving a big issue for them. And so providing value and knowing that what we're doing is maybe keeping someone's loved one around another year or two, or saving them a significant amount of money that they can use towards other financial struggles. That's the kind of stuff where I hear those stories from our team members, and it's like, that's why we're doing what we're doing, is we're changing lives, with the work we're doing. And if we weren't doing it, somebody else may not be. And I think most people can say they would like to have a different and better healthcare system and way to access healthcare in the U.S. So it's just those things where, yeah, there's the hard times. But then I hear a story of how our team literally saved somebody's life. And I'm like, if it was just
one
for
of
that
those stories. I mean, I'm sure our listeners really want to hear a story. Tell us a story.
Yeah, that stories are the best. So our services are deployed via on-site clinic model, concierge model as well. And we will go on site to employers maybe 1 day a week, 2 days, maybe 5 days a week, but during operations. And as we get into those employers, we discuss, here's what we can do for you. If anything happens during the day, come see us, that kind of stuff. So this just happened, earlier this year, but one of our providers was on site and an employer, and this executive team was sitting around a table having a meeting, just like any other meeting, and their colleagues were looking at them and said, you don't look very good. Like, what's going on? And it's like, I'm just not feeling great. And they said, you really need to go see Allison, who is their provider. And she's right down the hall. She's here today. And he's like, no. And they're like, no, go see her. Guy goes down, ends up seeing her. She does her assessment, checks, kind of does, a quick checkup on the individual, and finds that looks like he's having a cardiac event. And so our ability to provide early treatment and then get ambulance services to that business and then to the hospital. This individual was he said, he's like, I was just going to go home and sleep it off. I wasn't feeling good. I was going to go home and go to bed. But it was for his coworkers urging him to go see the provider there. And it was that provider's assessment and early intervention that got that system activated. Say this individual, he was going to have a heart attack. He would have gone home and he would have died in his bed. And it's just stuff like that where you're like, you step back and it's like that close. And it's that we don't market our services as being an emergency service, but we were able to, see that was happening and then get those emergency systems activated and a person transferred. And it's just crazy stuff to think, somebody has a father still in their lives because of the work we were doing, and a husband and a loved one. And yeah, it's pretty special.
Nathan, that's beautiful. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. So as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, why do you think systems and processes are so important?
A lot of entrepreneurs, I think, fail in transitioning a good idea to a business, and a business that can grow and scale, because they don't put good systems in place. And so I can do one thing myself really well, but how do I multiply myself, and how do I get these systems replicatable? And that's really where I see a lot of entrepreneurs fail. Is they're great idea people, but they're terrible operation people, or they just can't make that next leap to get beyond them as the business. And so it's one of the valuable lessons I learned. So I had 13-year career in the healthcare system is you have standards of operation, and you have policy, and you have these things that lay the foundation to allow your teams to do this work over and over and over again, do it consistently, to maintain a high quality product, and to assure good outcomes. And so taking some of that knowledge and expertise, and then hiring on great people with operations minds as well. But thinking of everything almost like a cookbook is really how we say it. We have a system called Playbook Builder. Shout out to John LaDuca and Playbook Builder.
Oh, absolutely, John. Yeah, I did 2 webinars with John, and
yes,
many of our clients use Playbook Builder. So absolutely. Hey,
that's
John.
right. Yeah, that's right. I was gonna say he owes me one. But no, awesome guy. But that's the kind of stuff of thinking about, how do I encapsulate all of what we do into a system that allows it to be accessed and replicated. So everything has a way of doing it. And so we're an EOS company as well. And so we have, here's our systems, and everything boils down to these processes. And it's not as much of thinking that, I think the healthcare system itself has gone too far manufacturing, and more of this lean process where it tries to strip out all this stuff to optimize time and these different, and financial results. I think there's a balance we've tried to find, especially being a healthcare business, but using the best of systems. So how do you put systems to work that allow your clinicians to provide better care and honestly spend more time with their patients, really what matters, and not saying, hey, how can I shave 5 minutes off of this encounter so I can have more visits? It's how do I optimize the quality of these encounters through systems and processes? So we've embraced them. We use Playbook Builder for that as a business system. And I think it's just absolutely critical for me from the get-go is, how do we take this intellectual property and process that we have and put it somewhere, so if God forbid I die, it still exists and the business can go on. I'm not the business. I think that's where a lot of entrepreneurs and early stage businesses just need to get is, it's not that you're not important anymore. It's that you are not going to grow your business unless you can replicate.
Absolutely. And the key word is replicating the systems. I agree 100%. And
Mhm.
yes, and documentation is very important. Optimization is very important for all the reasons that you said, in terms of consistency, in terms of improving profitability and improving efficiency, not with the price of giving the patient or your client less, but being able to actually streamline so you can provide that service. And of course, the knowledge transfer, the legacy, the tribal knowledge, super important.
Yes.
Nathan,
Yeah.
it's been a great conversation. If people are now asking, okay, how can I get a hold of Nathan? I want to know more about what he does. I want to know more about the systems. I want to get inspired. I want to use his services. How can they get a hold of you?
Yeah. I'm active on LinkedIn, so follow me on LinkedIn. Beyond that, just go to our website, healthbar.com, HealthBar.com. The business had 2 A's in the last part of it, but I rebranded because everybody got confused about that. But go to our website. It has all of our information, our service lines, who we serve, how we serve them, who to contact if you're interested. Yeah, would love to have a conversation with anybody about our model and our system. We see this as a rising tide raises all ships. So we do not try to hoard or build big moats around what we do. And a lot of people in industries are like, how are you going to protect yourself from all this stuff? And it's like, this is healthcare. We need a lot more of it and better of it. So let's all just do this together. So we have much more of a growth oriented and partnership mentality versus this competitive hoarding style mentality. So love conversations like this. We'd be happy to go into more of the systems and processes that we have.
Awesome. Nathan, thank you so much for being a guest on this podcast. It's been very informative, and I'm sure our listeners learned a lot. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the System Simplified podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.